Good morning. My name is Rex Nichols, and I'm running for sheriff of Lincoln County. And I'm here to be interviewed today and hopefully answer some questions that might be on your mind so that you'll have an idea where I'm coming from. I think we have some real problems, general statements. We have some real problems in this country relative to law enforcement because they have what I observed when I was working in law enforcement is the last 6 or 8 months that I was in that, I'd been a shift sergeant for about 3 years and always got the new people pretty quickly for working nights. And then I was on the oral interview board, and I discovered immediately that after people had passed all the rest of the exams, they sent them to the oral interview board, and our function was to ferret out those that really had no business wearing a badge and being in law enforcement. And that turned out to be about 80% of the people. And what I saw occur over the next many years was that because of my contact with law enforcement people as clients and just watching, was that the 80% that shouldn't have ever got hired, some of them did get hired, and they moved up in the ranks and they got to be on the oral boards and etc. and like hired like. And so we've ended up with a lot of law enforcement people that really, in my opinion, have no business being in law enforcement, or that needed to be trained considerably different than they were so that they could understand that you're not a cop, you're a peace officer, and you have some functions that are far different than what most of them perceive their functions to be. So,
these are questions that other folks have asked me to ask you, and we're going to just go through these. What will you do if you find one of your men abusing their authority?
They're going to be dealt with a lot more severely than just a citizen that was found doing that. Because the public has a right to expect their police officers to answer to a higher level. Therefore, if they break that expectation, then they're going to have to be expected that they're going to be treated much more severely than just a citizen who might have done that.
How is our law enforcement structured with the county sheriff and our local town police force? How do they work together? How does the police force and the sheriff department, how are they structured and how do they work together? Can you give me kind of an outline on that?
Well, I can. How do they work together? How are they structured? Generally, and this is just a general statement, but generally the city police officers take care of the issues within the city. The sheriff backs them up if necessary, and vice versa. The sheriff's department has the legal authority to do about anything they need to do within the law within the city, but they function primarily on county issues. If they are investigating drug use, etc., then city boundary doesn't mean anything. But they generally function on county issues because the city doesn't and can't. Unless the city is commissioned as a county officer, then they really have no authority outside of the city.
Okay, are there other duties the sheriff has besides law enforcement?
Oh, yes, there's things like serving warrants, checking on people. You might get a call for a security check on somebody who they know the caller knows is living by themselves, etc. There's lots of things that the sheriff's office gets involved in, and some that they don't that they should.
How will you dissolve the corruption in the department that is here right now?
How would I solve the
How will you
dissolve the problem of corruption? Well, first, of course, you're going to have to, whoever takes the job on, is going to have to determine both the depth and the breadth of the corruption. And what you find out is going to help determine the answer to that. If it's just a matter of re-education and retraining, that's fine. And if it's not, then it's replacement of, and you know, if it's serious corruption and illegality, then you very well might be filing charges.
Does the sheriff, can you deputize anyone that you want?
Sure.
Okay.
The sheriff can deputize just about anybody that he wants. I think he has to be reasonably cautious as to who he deputizes, but yes, he can.
What is a posse, and who can be one?
Well, a posse could be, and is really, a group of citizens that are regulated, hopefully. They better be. And the sheriff can deputize any of them, or all of them, to assist in civil matters, legal enforcement, etc. Once they're deputized, they have that ability. A posse could be used in any number of cases, but let's say as an example that a deputy, a peace officer, comes upon a 4 or 5 car accident way out here on Highway 2. If he knew that he had deputies in different areas, or posse in different areas, he could just call dispatch and tell dispatch to contact 5 or 6 of the the posse members in that area for assistance, which means that now we all know that the Montana Highway Patrol takes care of accidents on the highways. However, when it's a serious accident, there's all kinds of things that you have to deal with. And one deputy and the Highway Patrol is going to have a difficult time dealing with a 4 or 5 car accident and a couple of 3 fatalities, etc., because there's a lot to be done there. So if you had local posse members who could come help direct traffic, do the mundane things that's going to have to be done, but that would relieve the law enforcement people to do what they have to do. As a matter of fact, my thought on this is just exactly like the sheriff in Pocatello County, right down the same line. When I saw that he was talking about the 911 system, and he made the comment that I've made for years, and that is that the most valuable resource that a county has are the people. And so he looked at the 911 system, and he looked at the idea of a posse, if you will, and he said, you know, for just a little bit of money, we can get the software in order to do a reverse 911. And so if we needed a posse, all we have to do is call the dispatcher, and they can reach 5,000 people a minute. Or if it wasn't a posse, you could just notify the population through their cell phones and their regular phones with that reverse 911 that there had been a terrorist attack, that there was any kind of an emergency that was coming upon us, and they could begin to get prepared. So, you know, I see all kinds of possibilities with that. And the important thing is you inform and educate the people and get them involved in the law enforcement in their own community. And maybe the best way for them to participate in law enforcement is just to learn to obey the law and why.
And so to me, it would be a lot nicer to have a posse help us out in a natural disaster than for the feds, the United Nations or somebody like that to come in and help us.
Well, you know, the scariest thing that you'll ever hear is I'm from the federal government and I'm here to help. That's got to strike fear in your heart. And so if you have local people that are well regulated, then it's very unlikely that we would have to deal with the feds coming in or a foreign power, because that's not what they want.
Why would I be afraid of the feds? Aren't they nice, warm, cuddly folks?
Well, as I said, let me ask you a question. Have you ever had a audit by the IRS, by the friendly IRS? Well, those of you who